Today I came at about 12:30, and some days I have to come and get and freight here, and sometimes we have other things that we have to do on different days. Like I was here yesterday and did our menus for a little bit, a couple months worth. Cooked my noodles yesterday because it makes it easier in this particular meal tonight to be a little bit prepared. So, but usually 1 o'clock will get me going. And then Mary Ann and Jill usually come in at 2. And we have added so many things now to our community cafe that there's a lot of assembly time, and to get it out the door so that people don't have to wait. And right now we're trying to get it so that by 4 o'clock we are able to start bagging up our product. We can get it out the door because it takes a long time to put that together. And that's when the bulk of our volunteers come, that's around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And a couple come earlier, a couple come later. And it all seems to work out because you don't want to have too many people when you don't have anything for them to do. Usually I'm done by 6 o'clock, but a lot of what we serve, we have kind of a smaller kitchen to do as many meals as we've started doing. So we have to kind of figure out what we're doing. Like today, I'll have maybe 9 pans of my big pasta dish, and this will hold 6. So we'll be into some of this stuff, and then we got to do some buns that we warm up. We got to use ovens for that. So you got to kind of plan your time in the oven. And sometimes we put things on the menu like French fries, so you can use the fryer and oven and stove, and but it all seems to come together at the right time. But it used to be when we only had about 50 people, we could do this starting at about 3 o'clock. Now I got to start at no later than 1. And Mary Ann comes in on a different day and makes cookies because now we're adding dessert. Once in a while I'll make bars or some cake, so then I'll have to come in on a different day or something too and make them for a couple hours. So I guess the biggest thing here we're saying is that it used to be a shorter amount of time that we could work and a little bit easier, but now with these bigger crowds and stuff, you still have the same size kitchen, and so it makes it got to extend the cooking on here to get it all done in time and to use the available space. We still like to give them a good fresh meal. We've had to go to more prepared stuff, but we still, like today, I'm browning the burger that goes in the pasta bake, and hopefully that it's going to make it taste better with seasoning and whatever, so that it's a tastier product. And our goal in the kitchen here is to increase our amount of people we serve, and to do that by having good food for them, number one, because this is still a small town and word of mouth is still faster than Facebook. And especially we serve a lot of elderly, and they're not that much on Facebook, but they Coconut Telegraph, they kind of talk to each other quite a bit. So we get about 7 volunteers a night, maybe 6. We usually have 4 people help dishing up. We have at least one person back there doing dishes pretty steady. And I said we stagger the people, so maybe at 3:30 or something, a couple will come and help bag up the cookies and wash the fruit, and so we're not all here before prep time. They're all here when we're serving, and so we can finish up, so we can go home. And they do a wonderful job. It actually takes a couple more people now because of the social distancing and the takeout, bringing it out to people. What I have here is I'm browning some burger, and I'm putting, when the burger gets brown, I've got some petite potatoes or tomatoes, and then we're going to put some spaghetti sauce in. It takes about, I've got a case of spaghetti sauce. I got 6 of them. I'm making 8 or 9, so it's about 2/3 of a can of spaghetti sauce per. The numbers have been going up. When we first started doing the takeout, it went from the 50 people that we've been getting to 70 to 130 to 170. Now we're sitting at about, I think the other night we did about 230. And it all depends on what we have on the menu besides. But we did about 230, but last Thursday we did 270 people. And so sometimes you go, well, let's see, 10 pounds of burger should be enough. Then you start to figure it out, well, no, I guess we need about 70 pounds of burger, huh? What we're going to do here then is we're making this pasta here today, and then we put it in a bigger pan like this, and I'll wrap that up, and when it goes in the oven, it has to heat up for about 45 minutes, and what we'll do then is we'll take it out of the oven, and we'll put cheese on top and put it back in the oven uncovered. And so then when we take it out, then it's a bake. So even though we cook the noodles on the stove, we cook the hamburger on the stove, it's still a bake because we're putting it in there. And kind of like something you'd get from Sbarro's or something like that at the Duluth Mall there. So something on that order, and it ends up being something that we can serve easier because we can quantify it. Like I'm making 8 pans at least, and we can get 32 pieces out of each pan. So that comes up to 250 pieces. So now that we're serving around 250 people, I need to have 8 pans minimum, maybe a little bit more. And but they get a generous portion of the meat and the pasta, and we have usually a vegetable. Tonight I'm not sure what vegetable we're going to have. We had baked beans last Thursday or Tuesday, So we might be doing green beans tonight, we might be doing corn, and then we'll have a fresh fruit. And today we're having apples. This time of year, we're finding out that some of the other fruit, which we kind of like to have a variety, we can't serve. It's hard because you never know what you're going to get on the oranges or the bananas, and so apples have been much more consistent as far as what we can serve and still be good fruit, not waste any. And we try not to waste, and because of that, because we really don't know how many we're going to get, sometimes we have to make a little extra, and then at the end of the month we might have what we call Cook's Choice. And Cook's Choice is basically what we did during the month. I have a little bit of my Reuben casserole left over, and if I have a little bit of this, then we'll have that at the end of the month. We'll have some other things with it, and it'll still be a good dinner and stuff, but you know, we can't just have all kinds of stuff left over and put in the freezer forever and ever. You gotta reuse it, and our funds are limited, so we don't want to waste anything. You know, if we make for 260 people and 220 show up, I got to have something to do with the rest of it. So we put it in the freezer, package it up good, and then reuse it on Cook's Choice. And Cook's Choice, there's a lot of dishes to do because we have a lot of little things that we serve. Instead of serving 8 pans of this, I might serve 1 pan of one thing and 1 pan of another thing. So that's about it.
All right, I'm just going to have a conversation with you, Darcy. Hello everyone, my name is Lois Lundeen and I work at Backus Community Center, and I'm here today to tell you about Community Cafe. I want to tell you the story about the cafe because we're just on the threshold of having a fundraiser for Community Cafe for our 2021 budget year. But we're looking to raise some funds, and I think once you know the story, maybe you will consider helping us out. Community Cafe operates at the Backus Community Center on Tuesday and Thursday nights. We serve a hot, nutritious meal to residents in our community on Tuesday and Thursday between 5 and 6 o'clock p.m. People come to the door for pickup, and they pick up a good, nice, hot, nutritious meal and take it home. We are seeing some trends happening with our cafe. On March 17th, when COVID hit, we had to change from dining in-house to having a pickup style meal. And our growth, the number of meals that we were putting out every day, it just exploded. We went from an average of 50 meals to our current average, which is 240 meals going out the door every single night on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's incredible. But it also really tells me a lot about the need in our community. People might ask about need in our community, and I want you to really remember that need reaches out way beyond a person's financial need. We have experienced so much during all of this COVID time. There are people who need that relationship, that little extra boost to take care of their mental health as well as their physical health. Community Cafe, working at the cafe, I've seen that we are improving lives for people, helping people to stay in their homes longer, helping people to recover and just sustain a good quality life in our community. It was later this summer we received a grant and we started to enhance our menu for cafe. We moved from things that were easier to prepare to more home-cooked meals. We also introduced fresh fruits and vegetables and milk with every meal. So those go home with every meal. We also had a little money in our budget that we can send a little dessert home with people. So knowing that a little sweet treat is sometimes nice at the end of your day too. What we've seen with our community cafe line has been really quite remarkable, and I have some stories I'm going to share with you. But one thing that I want to really tell you about is while people are waiting in line, and they all wait in line outdoors, they have formed relationships. People are really habitual in the time of day that they come to pick up their dinner, and when they come, they find that there are the same people in line waiting with them each time. So they've built some friendships. They're taking care of one another. They talk to each other about what's happening in their lives, what's going on in their neighborhoods, what's happening with their neighbors. We had an instance where there was a group of 3 people that were meeting every day, and they were taking meals to one another, and there was a hardship in one of those families, and one family was directly helping the other, so 2 of those folks weren't here, but the 3rd person came and said, I'm here to pick up meals for this person and this person because they can't come, and she made her way to their homes and delivered meals on nights when they couldn't come. But that kind of caring and nurturing, it's remarkable. We also have seen a rise in the number of people who are picking up meals for their elderly neighbors and their elderly family members who can't come here. Maybe they're just physically not able to come here, but they pick up meals and they take them to them. It's good. That's one way for people to make sure that people are getting hot, nutritious, good food, and they're not just getting by on a piece of toast or a bowl of cereal or a sandwich. So that is really heartwarming for us to hear, but to hear those increasing numbers of people who are just helping their neighbors is incredible. And I would encourage you, look at your neighborhood, think about your families and your people. If there are people out there who you know would benefit from getting a hot meal and you could help by delivering that meal, please come to Community Cafe and pick up a meal and take it to those folks. I frequently ask people, how is Community Cafe helping you? Tell me the positive, tell me the impact of what this is doing for you. And the stories that I hear are really overwhelming. You know, we hear the thing that you would expect, that this is really helping my budget. Times are tight. My husband and I, or I'm a single parent, we're working really hard. We're trying to make ends meet, but it's really, really tough. And these 2 meals that we help people with offer some relief. It's been really good to see that. We hear from people with little kids that maybe used to once in a while go out and have a bite to eat that can't afford it anymore, tell us, this is our night out. This is our dinner out. And the little kids, we had a little boy in our line one time he asked me what was for dinner, and I said, we're having cheeseburgers tonight, and he tugged on his dad, and he was all excited, and he said, Dad, they're better than McDonald's. And I thought, sorry, McDonald's. But it was really a delight to hear that from this little guy, that he was excited. He was happy to be able to come and help his dad get food for his family. Little kids are learning social skills. They're learning to come up and ask please and thank you, meet their neighbors, and just learning to socialize in maybe a little different way. That was a benefit. A couple of the stories that I want to share with you. Within the last few weeks, I stood outside and I talked to folks as they would come up. And more often than not, when somebody comes up by themselves, they'll tell me their story. And there were a couple of them that really touched my heart. One, there was a young person came up to the door and told me that within their household that this young person was going through recovery, that this person was sober for about 5 years, and told me what a struggle it is to stay sober. Told me that another member of his family moved to town and is also going through recovery, and they're trying to work through that. There's another neighbor just down the street that's going through the same thing. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, he comes here and he gets dinner and he takes it home. And they meet at their house and they talk and they support one another so that they can stay sober and continue on their journey together. But he comes here and he gets dinner that just was incredible to me. He told me he doesn't, that's their meeting that night, and it just was incredible to me that they take that time, they share a meal, they share life, and they support one another, and they're moving forward. Another person told me about bringing food to an elderly neighbor that she noticed wasn't coming outdoors very often, and had been seeing this person's health fail. This person was starting to reside to just staying in his chair or just staying in his bed, and he wasn't getting up, and she started bringing meals. And pretty soon that person started getting up and started getting out of bed and started coming to the table and would eat a little more each time, and was regaining strength, regaining confidence, and getting a little maybe purpose to live. I'd like to think that that was what was happening. And one time she came to the door and asked, she came inside and he was up, he was dressed, he was cleaned, he had cleaned himself up, showered, taken care of himself, and she said, she commented to that about that with him, and he said, I knew you were bringing dinner. And that hope, that beauty of this program shines through all the time. I hear people talking about how they bring food to people who are elderly caregivers. And they talk about how this meal, those 2 nights a week, gives that caregiver a little bit of a break so that they can continue on taking care of their elderly spouse. I hear particularly from men in this instance, but men who have lost their wives, and they're of a generation maybe where they didn't learn to cook. The wife took care of everything in the kitchen, and all of a sudden these men are finding themselves alone and they don't know how to cook. We encourage them to come to a community cafe and get food and start to be healthy and to remain healthy, to sustain health and to eat. That's one way that we can help these folks meet their needs. When people ask me, are you thinking that there are people out taking advantage of, or how do you really know that people need it? You know what, I don't know. I really don't know. But that's not for me to decide. Need reaches out beyond financial need. It reaches out beyond things that we understand. I am just delighted to have people from our community coming, taking advantage of this program, staying healthy, and getting the word out about how good it is to have good food. I would encourage you, please, you'll be hearing more about our fundraiser in the coming days. Watch Facebook, watch our website, and you'll see these, watch KCC TV, you'll see information about our fundraiser, and please consider helping us. We have our budget for the coming year. We know what it's going to take to keep this program going. I think having 240 meals going out the door, and we have reached as high as 285 meals going out the door. That's incredible. That defines need to me. That's it. Please know that our staff that puts these meals out every week is made up of some of our Backus staff here, our kitchen staff, and a very dedicated small group of volunteers. We like to keep our environment very controlled so that we're staying safe for the coronavirus. But these folks in the kitchen get just as much out of this program as the folks that are out here in the line. It's incredible to watch the community and the caring and everything that is formed there too. But please do consider contributing to our fundraiser and keeping our program alive. The folks that are out here getting food, they need you too.
My name is Janelle Feller, and I'm the Executive Director of Friends Against Abuse. I serve on the Community Cafe Advisory Council with...
I'm Ashley Hall. I'm an Executive Director of Falls Hunger Coalition. Like Janelle said, we're both on the committee for Community Cafe, and the need has grown exponentially since COVID. So we had the brilliant idea.
You had the brilliant idea.
That we should do something about it.
So what we found, we got together in October, and we had not met for most of the year because COVID. And so we didn't really know where things were at. And when we got together in October, we found out that the Community Cafe had gone from serving normally 50 to 75 people to, at that point, it was like 260 people a meal. Last Tuesday, actually, they served 356 people. And those numbers keep growing. Community Cafe serves meals on Tuesdays and Thursdays at no cost. And it's become an important part of our community. So we saw that there was a huge deficit in that, and we decided to do something about it.
And while I'm newer to this position, I just took over officially in July, although I've been here since May, serving under Karina. I didn't know anything about Community Cafe, so this whole program was very new to me. I knew that there was meals available, and in Rotary, we've helped at Community Cafe before, but I was not very familiar with who used Community Cafe and why they use Community Cafe. And that's what was really eye-opening to me, hearing the stories. Lois has done a phenomenal job expressing to us the different types of people that use Community Cafe, the different reasons they use Community Cafe, and that's really what struck a chord in my heart, is the need for it and why. And it's, you know, it's people that they don't have a spouse at home, or their partner has passed away, and maybe they're not even wanting to get out of bed and eat. So somebody bringing them this meal is just so vital. So it's not always just the financial aspect of getting a meal, it's the camaraderie, it's the friendship, it's the seeing somebody, it's somebody just letting people know they care. So that's why it was so special to me. It's like Janelle said, and that has just continued to grow and grow. And I know how busy we've been here in the food shelf, and honestly, I think if it weren't for Community Cafe, we would be even busier. So they're not only doing filling a huge void in our community, but they're also helping every other organization, every program in the town too that provides services.
I think so. They Community Cafe provides food twice a week, but they also and right now during COVID, all those meals are carry out, but they also provide a connection with each other. People who went to the food shelf beforehand, checking on each other, getting meals for each other. It provides an opportunity for people to get together and talk, even if it's just in line while they're waiting. They also run across Lois, who checks on them, makes sure that everybody's doing okay. The chef, Rick DeBenedit, knows the people that come to Community Cafe. These aren't strangers. These are people that they know and care about, and they're taking care of each other in a variety of ways. And also, I think that has to be very helpful for just their mental health, to have people checking on them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So our goal is to raise $20,000 without spending one dime. It was Ashley's idea to have this fundraiser, and so we're doing it all over social media and with personal asks. So we are on track. We are on track to raise the money that we have said that we would, because our community is very generous. Our campaign is called Feed Just One. It's based on Mother Teresa's quote, "If you can't feed 100, then feed just one." And so that was kind of our goal. Mm-hmm. So we're asking people to donate $42, which would feed one person at Community Cafe for 1 month.
I think you said it perfectly. That's our biggest goal is keep feeding people, to help Backus out. They're doing a phenomenal job at what they're doing. Being that we're in the middle of a pandemic and the need has risen dramatically, it's also, it's hard on their staff and their volunteers, and they're taking every measure they can to keep people safe. They're limiting the volunteers that are actually helping. So instead of having organizations and churches come in and volunteer, they have a very limited number of volunteers
that are committed to doing this
Yes.
work. I mean, they're watching who they're coming in contact with, because they know
Yeah.
that they're needed.
Yes.
Yep.
There's lots and lots of people relying on them, and then their staff is the same. And I mean, I know even Lois and Waugh, they're being particular. If they're not needed, they're not down there. So it's a very controlled environment while they're feeding
356 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the costs have gone up because, of course, the food costs have gone up, but also everything is now containerized, if that's a word. I don't think that's a word.
It is now.
It's containerized. It's put into a thing, and so that it can be distributed to other people, and to keep it safe, and to also so people can take meals to their family, friends, relatives, and safely. But there's a cost to that too. There's a cost to that too. And they've tried to make them biodegradable, which makes it even, which is the right thing to do, but it makes it a little bit more expensive. So we want to help Community Cafe feed our community, and we need the community's help to do that. So.
And my last little pat on the back to Backus is that they're providing these 300 meals a night, plus 300 plus meals a night. They're doing it in a safe and controlled manner, environmentally friendly, and they're also it's nutritious meals they're offering. My other hat and role I wear is I'm a health coach, and so I'm always conscious of what people are putting into their bodies. And the other night, I picked up one of their meals and took home to my kids, and I was so pleasantly surprised to see it had a vegetable, a fruit, the pasta serving. It was portion. I mean, it was the right portion.
Yeah.
And so they're being so conscious in so many ways, and I hope that our community realizes how fortunate we are to have this program, especially right now.
Because it's not just feeding bodies; it's also feeding hearts and souls, and taking care of people when they need it. So,
Feed just one.
Feed just one.